This is great.
Super fun. Great lead performance. Great monster.
Did you say great monster?
I did say great monster. Great transition to one of the best monsters in any movie ever.
It's King Kong!
King Kong. We finally did King Kong.
Oh, we finally did it!
We don't have to change the album art for this episode at all.
Yes, the background of all of this is that if you have been seeing the lovely album episode art that we have done custom for every episode, it is based off of a photo that I took of a print of King Kong that I ran. I held the loop up to the kind of iconic scene of him in front on a skyscraper and took a photo with my phone, and then cropped out the King Kong imagery, and we put in different stuff, but now we don't have to.
Yeah.
Now
Also,
it's just the original photo.
You did take like the best single frame of King Kong possible. It's like the most iconic thing.
I had to.
On the Empire State Building with an airplane. Yeah.
When I'm running movies that I know well on film and I'm trying to capture imagery, I know what images I want to capture.
Yeah.
I got one of those for Nightmare Before Christmas too, while he's like standing on the spiral hill, you know.
I had seen this movie a bunch of times. This is one of my favorite movies. I mean, I saw this movie when I was, I don't know how, I saw this movie as a young kid. I hadn't seen it in a while before I watched it this past week. But it's like, it's up there in terms of, I think I might have actually liked it less this time. Not necessarily liked it less, but there's more stuff that stuck out of like, oh boy, this is an old movie.
Right.
But they're often kind of so over the top that it doesn't really hurt the movie as much as it maybe should for me.
Yeah.
People know what King Kong is, but it feels worth mentioning that this is like one of the most famous movies ever made, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of those.
This is this is a huge movie. It's very influential.
It's like
it was Beauty That Killed the Beast.
Yeah, it's like so ingrained in culture though that like an entire building became associated with this movie and is like inseparable.
Yeah.
And even like the idea of like any primate of any notable size is like, oh, King Kong.
Donkey Kong.
Right.
They're
and we're
all
just
Kongs.
Like, King Kong is like a nickname. Like, if someone's really big, like, King Kong over here. Like, King Kong is like is like a reference that everyone gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
anytime someone is standing on top of a building and starts like swatting at something, it's like, oh, King Kong.
It's iconic.
Yeah,
it's iconic.
It's like, but it's so iconic. We talked about this with like Frankenstein and Dracula, but like King Kong might be even more of a like. Also, because those were books first. This is like this came from movies and is still kind of, I feel like, it's in the Roku background, you know. It's like it's so associated with
if
like
you've made it into the Roku background,
that's when you know you've made it. But it's like if you're gonna throw like 5 like scenes from all of movies and you wanted to pick like the 5 most iconic ones, this would be one of them, I think.
Yes. I had seen this movie before as well. I've probably seen it a couple times back in the day. But
I'm pretty sure you watched this at my house at some point.
I'm sure I have, yes. But it'd probably been at least a decade since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how brutal this movie is.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that this is a pre-code movie and that it is like, it goes places.
This movie, you know, it's not, I think that you feel empathy for Kong, but it's not quite like the Peter Jackson movie where like he's a bit more like it's a bit more sappy or whatever. Like he is a monster in this movie.
Yeah.
And like you see that he's suffering a little bit, but also he's just like chomping people and breaking their backs and snapping dinosaurs in half.
Yeah.
And like the violence in this is some of the most shocking violence in any movie we've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it's against dinosaurs, but still.
Even with the people, like when he's like
people getting crushed and stomped and eaten and
there's such a, and you know, speaking of like the ways in Invisible Man where the special effects are integrated into the scene, it's done really, really well in this movie where like there's a part where he's coming up to like some guys who are crossing a big gulch on a log, and he starts shaking the log around to like make them fall down. Which, you know, they have the stop motion composite like in the background, kind of moving its hands, and then they have a giant log that they're just moving with the actual people on it, and then the people fall down to their deaths and like snap their backs on the ground.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah, this movie does such a good job of like the stop motion animation in this is the best that's been done up to this point, like hands down.
Yeah.
But it does such a good job of integrating it into live action, of like always having sort of like something in the foreground or something in the background that is being shot live action, of like with real actors or real sets, to kind of give this illusion of.
Yeah. And they do they also sell that really well with some like super tight close-ups of Kong's face that are made in much more detail. It's still stop motion, I think, but it's
they did build a big Kong head too, though.
Okay, yeah.
There's a big Kong head, and they built a big Kong hand.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how. There's a lot to talk about with this movie. I feel like, should we just like start at the beginning?
Sure.
Because right at the beginning, before the movie even starts, we see the RKO logo, which maybe look a little familiar to someone who watches the show.
I guess, I mean, you know, they didn't invent that imagery.
I think they did. I think that's RKO. That's like where the
they did it in
the radio tower. True, also true. Funny because we also use a radio tower on a spinning planet.
we're a very Kong setup.
Very Kong-centric show.
But this is the first RKO movie we've seen. Really big, famous production company.
Yeah, RKO, which was about to go bankrupt when they made this movie. They kind of put all their chips on it, and it saved their entire company.
I mean, it looks it. It looks so expensive.
Yeah. I guess we'll get into it later. This movie like cannibalized whole other movies and like absorbed them into its production. But this movie opens with a completely made up old Arabian proverb, which goes, "And lo, the beast looked upon the face of beauty, and it stayed its hand from killing. And from that day, it was as one dead." Which is not a real proverb. It's made up by either Marion C. Cooper or Ernest Schoedsack, one of the two directors of this movie. Which we'll talk about them more too, probably.
This movie also starts with an overture, which is new.
Well, I think that's on the DVD. I don't know if that was a thing when it first came out or not.
Oh, really? Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know, but I'm curious how much of that was like, I don't know if that was something added back in when it was like released on DVD, because like earlier releases of it did not have the overture.
Oh, interesting.
But this movie, like any movie from this time period, got censored and like recut later on, so who knows.
King Kong originally did not have an overture.
Okay.
I
like how it does now, though.
Turner Classic Movies added it in 2005, apparently.
Yeah, so like right off the bat, we meet Carl Denham, who is a moving picture director, and is a pretty direct analog for one of the directors, or I guess both directors of this movie, either Marion Cooper or Ernest Schoedsack, because both of those guys were like crazy adventurer filmmakers that like went off into faraway countries and like made sort of not really documentaries, sort of like Nanook style documentaries, where a lot of it was scripted, but they were kind of trying to show people in the United States what like other cultures were like, and then kind of misrepresenting them by doing so. But, you know, they had a lot of stuff like wild animals and lions and things. So Carl Denham is very kind of clearly based on them. He is also pretty much every like toxic negative trait that like a filmmaker can have in one character. Like he's incredibly egotistical and reckless and willingly puts other people in danger and does not care. That was another thing I think rewatching this movie, because like in remakes of this, they usually treat Carl Denham or the Carl Denham analog as like more of a villain. And I was like, oh, Carl Denham in the original movie, he's okay. He's just trying to get his movie made. And it's like, no, he's like a crazy person in this movie. He's a very dangerous person to be around.
Extremely reckless. Yeah.
And so he's getting ready to go off to a mysterious place to make his new picture. And the producers are saying, you need a girl in this picture. You need a lady. And he says, isn't there any romance in the world without a flapper in it? The dialogue in this is also very like 1930s banter heavy, which is very fun.
There are a lot of people who just are not fans of women in this movie.
But when you say that, I feel like normally it's like, oh, okay, they like are kind of sexist or like treat women badly. No, they directly say to them, I don't like women.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the first movie that Carl Denham has made that has a woman in it, apparently. So they're like, the studio's forcing me to make a picture with a romantic angle, so it'll sell more sell more tickets.
Yeah. The romantic angle. So Carl Denham goes out on the streets of New York that night to find a woman. And the first place he goes is
Name
to like
a woman.
The first place he goes is to like a woman's shelter because it's the Depression and like people need food and housing. And he's like, these are all uggos. I gotta go somewhere else. He doesn't say that, but that's the vibe.
Yeah.
This section of the movie in New York City, I was surprised, I guess, at how like directly it is kind of commenting on the Great Depression. Like, this is a very like Depression era movie, and it's about kind of like money being tight and like things are rough out there on the streets, and it's like hard to get food. Because then he's walking by an apple stand, and Ann Darrow is stealing an apple that he pays for.
Played by Fay Wray.
Classic Fay Wray. It's been in lots of movies, but this is like the only one that she is ever remembered for, because obviously
something went wrong with Fay Wray in King Kong.
And so then Carl Denham has to convince her to just get on a ship that night to go somewhere that she doesn't know where.
And he won't tell her.
Yeah. And not an actress, but she's like, hey, you're pretty. You want to be in a movie?
She's like, sure, mister.
Yeah. Well, she takes a little bit of convincing. And he has to say, look, I'm on the level. No funny business.
I have that quote. She thinks that, like, you know, he's trying to, like, take her up to his apartment or whatever. Yeah. But yeah. No, I'm not interested in ladies.
Yeah.
I am an asexual, reckless adventurer.
Yeah. And so they got on the moving picture ship and head out to parts unknown. And on the ship, Ann Darrow runs into the first mate of the ship, Jack Driscoll, who one of the first things he said... Well, the way they meet is Jack Driscoll accidentally slaps her in the face because he's throwing his arms up in the air. And then he says, women can't help being a bother. Made that way, I guess. It's like, Jesus Christ. Tell us how you really feel.
And this is the Smithers role in the King Kong Simpsons Treehouse of Horror segment.
One of the best Treehouses of Horror.
Where he says, I think women and semen don't mix.
But so, Jack Driscoll and Ann Darrow... kind of they start to fall in love with each other, but the way it's dramatized in this movie is a little clunky. It's mostly just them saying that. Like, I don't actually think they have that much like romantic chemistry in this movie, but
no, he does become a strapping adventurer when he stops being like a whiny first mate.
Yeah. Carl Denham picks up on the fact that he's getting sweet on Anne. And he goes, some big hard-boiled egg gets a good look at a pretty face and bang, he craps up and goes sappy. Incredible line of dialogue. It's around here that we find out that we are the destination for this expedition is a place called Skull Island. There is also a Skull Mountain on Skull Island.
It's like how there's a New York in New York.
Right, yeah. And then that mystery solved. It's a mysterious island no one's ever been to. It's not on any map. Carl Denham has the only map because he interviewed a drunk sailor in Singapore and got him to draw a map for him. and he's doing some screen tests with Anne on the deck of the ship with his old Bell and Howell hand cranked camera, and we get a shot of the three crew guys like all on a ladder, like stacked on top of each other, which immediately stood out to me because that's where in the Simpsons episode there's the best joke in that whole thing where we're going to Ape Island to find a big ape. I wish we were going to Candy Apple Island. What they got there? Apes. Not so big, though.
It's a classic Simpsons joke.
It's so simple, but it's the funniest thing
one of their
in the
classic
world.
Misdirection style
Oh
jokes.
my god.
Yes, while they're on the ship, she starts kind of befriending one of the monkeys on the like a monkey that's just hanging out on the ship, which I think is a nice bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
She's just friendly to this like little charming monkey.
And
who we
Darrow,
don't see again.
friend of apes.
Friend of apes, yes.
Also, this is when they're doing the screen test, we get our first Fay Wray scream.
Mm-hmm.
Fay Wray, famous for her screaming in this movie. Maybe the first scream queen, like actor who's like known for being in horror movies and screaming.
I guess
in
so,
dramatic ways.
especially because you can only newly scream at all in movies.
That's what I thought about that, of like that can't exist without sync sound. So it's like that's kind of the genesis of that whole Hollywood trope also. They get to Skull Island through the fog. We get our first look at it with the big matte painting, which looks really cool. Even like some of the really simple VFX in this movie are really effective. Like the like animated birds in the foreground, like flying in front of the kind of view of the island.
They do so much in this movie with like depth. To
and, like,
really sell these scenes.
And like multi-pane stuff and like
and like they're just silhouettes of birds that are in the foreground while they're landing on the beach. So it's just like black animated figures, but like it works. It's good. It like sells that there are creatures here, you know.
Yeah. Once we get to the island too is kind of when the score starts really kicking in, and this is like one of the first movies to have a like extended like dramatic orchestral score. Like The Mummy had a little bit of score like here and there, but this has like most scenes in this movie that aren't just like straight dialogue scenes have music under them, like non-diegetic music.
Yeah.
And Max Steiner, who wrote the music, just does an like the score of this movie is still a great movie score.
Yeah, and it's like used in a very like classic, you know, movie score fashion.
Yeah.
Like there isn't anything that feels out of place with it. Certainly.
Which definitely like watching this movie growing up, it's like, King Kong, it's got music in it, like whatever. But watching it in context, it's like that really stands out. Really,
it's got music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When something happens and there's like a big musical sting under it, it's like that. No one's done that very much. Like it's very kind of sparingly used in other movies, and this is not sparing with the score, and it's great.
And this movie like takes its time too. It's it feels like it's about halfway through the movie when you first meet King Kong, or maybe like a third of the way through the movie.
Yeah, I think it gets progressively longer in each remake. I think it's like there were a lot of reviews of the Peter Jackson King Kong. It's like an hour and a half until King Kong shows up. But I like that, the opening section. I like how much it takes its time and kind of builds tension of like, where are we going?
Yeah.
We don't know. Like Skull Island. What's the deal with Skull Island? I don't know. There's like a beast there or something. Don't worry about it. And then they go to shore and spy on the local indigenous islanders who live on Skull Island. This is definitely the part of the movie that holds up the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching it and I was just like, racism.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a big, like, for as much as I love like classic 1930s adventure shit, it's like, it's all pretty racist. This movie in particular, kind of. Yeah.
And it you know, it's the kind of thing that it's like, it's not hateful, right? Like, it's not, it's just like, oh, the indigenous people, they wear bones in their hair and stuff like that, you know? Yeah. And like, it's
very fearful.
Quite ignorant.
Yeah, it's ignorant and it's very fearful. And it's definitely like playing up sort of like cultural differences as like, ooh, they're scary.
Yeah.
I will say this movie at least is able to cast people of color as opposed to just putting paint on them, which would is definitely
would
in, like,
be worse.
The Lost World, which this movie is like nearly a remake of, did that, and it was bad. But so the indigenous people see Anne and that she's blonde, and they're like, "That's new," and they say, "Yeah, blondes are scarce around here."
And they say, we'll trade 6 of our women for your one blonde one.
Yeah, which they think about, but then don't actually do.
And also, yikes.
They like don't immediately refuse, which is kind of funny. So yeah, they have this kind of tense standoff with the village during they got their big Kong ceremony, sort of sacrifice that's going on.
Yeah, they kind of like come in just at the right time because they're having their like yearly Kong sacrifice.
Right. But so they kind of leave under tense terms. Carl Denham is like, "I want to go back and I want to film more," and they're like, "No, like we can't. Like, calm down, Carl. We need to be safe." And back on the ship, Jack and Anne are talking, and Jack says, "Say, I guess I love you." To which she responds, "Why, Jack? You hate women."
The chemistry.
I know. And he's like, "Well, that's true, but I guess you're okay." There is a bit of, I don't know if this is intentionally comedic, but there's like this like swelling romantic music under this conversation, and then it cuts away to Captain Englehorn, the captain of the ship, and like the music immediately cuts out when it cuts away to a different person, and then like it comes back when it cuts back to them, and I found that so funny.
I didn't notice that, but that could also just be like a factor of them being new to this kind of stuff.
But it was like, oh, it's great. But so then the Skull Islanders sneak aboard the ship and kidnap Anne. So they have to mount a rescue party, and they get all the boats and they get all their rifles and pack into the boats and go back to the island.
Backpack full of bombs.
Yeah, they got their gas bombs that had been set up right from the beginning of the movie. Like, what are we bringing all these gas bombs to the island for? And Carl's like, "Oh, you'll see." We got our first big reveal of Kong coming out of the jungle.
Yeah,
which is
giant. I mean, y'all, anybody listening has seen this imagery before.
The big door.
Of the giant door that they keep locked to keep Kong on the other side, but they open it every once in a while to give him a sacrifice, a new bride of Kong.
Yeah.
And they decide to make it Fay Wray this time.
Yeah.
And so they tie her up. They tie her up and offer her up to Kong, and you finally see him. He finally reveals himself in another shot that is kind of like using the depth to and like multiple exposures to put her and the giant animation creature in the same frame.
Because it'd be one thing to have like a cool animation of Kong coming out of the jungle, right? But by having actual Anne be like in the foreground, it gives it such a sense of scale of like immediately you see how big Kong is.
Yeah.
Because there's a person in the shot.
We also haven't mentioned Willis O'Brien yet.
True.
Who is kind of just the lifeblood of this entire movie. He is the animator of Kong and the dinosaurs, and he did The Lost World previously and a couple other shorts.
Yeah,
and
also like the Slumber Mountain, and was it Ghost of Slumber Mountain, right?
Yeah.
And a little backstory on how he got involved in this movie is that he was already making a like people go to an island full of dinosaurs movie called Creation in the early 30s for RKO, and had already like built all the dinosaurs for it and like shot footage from it and things. And then RKO was like, "We're shutting you down because we're running out of money and we're going bankrupt." Marion Cooper and Ernest Schoedsack were like, "Hey, we have a crazy ape movie. You want to do the effects for that, but then also bring in all of your dinosaurs that you'd already made."
And he's like, "I love dinosaurs."
Yeah, and so it's like this. So this movie really this movie has like full scenes in it that were kind of planned for Creation. So that's what I mean when it's like this movie kind of like ate a whole nother movie and absorbed it into itself.
As Kong eats people.
Sure. It kind of doesn't really eat people. He just kind of munches on them and spits them back out.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the kind of send the rescue mission into the jungle after Anne, we get the best part of the movie, which is like Anne and Kong in the jungle fighting dinosaurs, and then the crew of the Venture chasing after through the jungle, also fighting dinosaurs. And all of these scenes are the best, and I love them. And I want them to be playing in the background all the time.
This is where that scene where Kong is shaking the log happens. Almost all of the adventurers die, except for our strapping hero. But they use a lot of that same kind of mixing two different scales together, popping between pulled back, fully stop motion scenes with stop motion human beings in them. And sometimes like Kong will be holding her, and then she's stop motion while he's holding her, and he puts her down on a tree to go fight a dinosaur, and then she becomes like the live action version composited in while he goes and fights a dinosaur, which is sick. It is, when he fights a dinosaur, it rules.
And that's the thing where like this movie would be a cool movie were it not for Willis O'Brien. But I think Willis O'Brien is the one who makes it like a great movie, because he's able to infuse so much like character into the creatures in this movie. Like, and I mean, the fight with the T-Rex, right, is the coolest. But it's like that's all Willis O'Brien, kind of like doing choreography and stuff. Like, apparently Willis O'Brien was into boxing and wrestling earlier in life. And so that's where we get like a lot of the great like fight choreography in the scene where King Kong is like socking a T-Rex in the mouth and like throwing him over his shoulder and things like that. Where it's like, yeah, it's like there's so much personality in the animation too.
Yeah.
And so much of like why Kong works as like a character as opposed to just a monster is because like there's a bit right after he shakes all the people off the log and Jack stabs him in the finger as he's like reaching down to grab at him. And it's like Kong is like hurt by it. And he's like checking his finger and like he's like, that hurt.
Yeah, it's all very, very well planned out animation.
Or even like fighting the T-Rex, and after he breaks the T-Rex's jaws open, which is a crazy way to end a fight. And there's all like gore spilling out. And King Kong just starts like playing with the jaws.
Because he's a monkey.
Right, but it's like just that extra little detail is such a, like, adds so much and like gives King Kong kind of like interiority.
It's the same thing in the spoilers death scene at the end.
Yeah.
Where like he is gradually getting more and more shot by the airplanes. And you see him go from like bravado to like vulnerability to like accepting his death. Yeah. And you can see that like on his face and in his movements.
Yeah, that's amazing. That all that stuff comes through as well as it does.
Yeah.
After the log scene is the kind of infamous lost spider pit scene, which is in the Peter Jackson one, but was deemed too gruesome even by pre-code standards. And is like a famous like lost scene. Like they probably burned the film and it's gone forever. But there was originally a bit like in the Peter Jackson one where a bunch of spider creatures come out and eat the crew that fell off the log. There's also like a weird two-legged lizard thing that crawls up to get Jack after the log bit, which is that like weird creature design kind of comes back in the Skull Island movie. The Kong Skull Island, the sort of Monsterverse movie. But so then it's just Jack chasing after Anne through the jungle. We're skipping over like the whole Stegosaurus fight, the whole bit where they go through the swamp and the Brontosaurus comes out and like eats a bunch of them, a bunch of the crew.
That's a good part, yeah.
So good.
A real vicious Brontosaurus.
Yeah, a Brontosaurus that is just eating people left and right. Which I also love that kind of like, every dinosaur in this movie is like the most monstrous version of a dinosaur possible. Like even the herbivorous dinosaurs are these like horrifying creatures that will just kill you immediately.
Stego's a nice guy. Stego's my favorite dinosaur.
Yeah, but like the Stegosaurus has like it has like 8 spikes instead of 4. Like it's this like amped up version of a Stegosaurus, which is really cool. Jack eventually catches up to Anne, and they escape while Kong is fighting a pterodactyl up on top of Skull Mountain. And so they escape back, and then Kong chases them, and Carl's like, "Hang on, we can catch Kong, and then we'll all be rich." Also, right, there's the bit where Kong is coming at the gates, and they're all holding. It's like both the crew of the Venture and the villagers are like bracing against the door, and Kong
they had their differences, but they both have an interest in stopping Kong from getting through.
Then Kong busts through because he wants his lady back, and like destroys the village and eats a bunch of people, or stomps on them,
crushes them into the mud.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. Maybe not gruesome, but it's like more violent than even other pre-Code movies.
I want to mention also so one thing while Jack is saving Anne from Kong, and in Kong's lair is that like there's all this smoke coming up from the ground, and it's like one more thing that like integrates him into the scene. Live action lady, stop motion Kong, miniature cave, and then like superimposed smoke that like really just adds like a really, really great sense of scale to everything.
Yeah.
They're like it, including another way that smoke is used is in Invisible Man, where he smokes a pair of he smokes some cigarettes while invisible, and like the smoke just blows out of nowhere. Like it's a really good way of like solidifying a scene in like real physics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
They throw some bombs at Kong, and they're like, "Let's take him to New York."
Yeah. Cut to New York, where he's on Broadway. Kong is now a Broadway show, as you do with a big giant animal. Put him on a Broadway stage.
This made me really mad that I never saw the Kong Broadway show a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I really wanted to see that, and I never did. Even just I did walk by the marquee though once, and that was worth it. Because to see an actual marquee that says Kong in Times Square is very cool. And then we get some other sort of funny inflation bit, right, where there are people lining up to get into the theater, and someone goes, "These tickets cost me $20," which that's where I got the figure of $500. Like that's $20 in 1933 is like $500 now.
I mean, I might pay $500 to see Kong.
See, it's like, hey, there's a Broadway show. It's about a big gorilla.
Yeah, people walk in thinking that it's a movie, and then the usher's like, "No, ma'am, it's a giant monkey."
Yeah, which I think is like that's kind of what I don't really know what audiences in this movie are supposed to think Kong is. They just see a sign, like it's a bit hazy. Like
they are big director people, and they'll follow Carl Denham wherever he goes.
Maybe
one kind of strange thing about this potential movie that he was making is that it's a hand cranked camera, which like makes me wonder if this is supposed to be set in the silent film era.
I think it's probably early enough in the talkie era that like if you're going to a jungle to make a movie, you're not necessarily going to be shooting sync sound the whole time.
Right.
So I think the implication is that he's making movies like Cooper and Schoedsack made movies, which I think was oftentimes with hand cranked cameras like in the jungle. But yeah, we got our big King Kong on Broadway thing. They're taking pictures of him. He gets mad. He breaks out and runs amok.
He doesn't like the flash photography, as all performers hate. I really don't know if I'm gonna like make somebody
What?
I don't know if Cirque du Soleil is gonna fall to their deaths if they see a flash bulb, but I don't know why people act like it's that serious. But it is for Kong, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is where Carl Denham also gets the idea. It's like, yeah, that's the angle. Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. From kind of workshopping with the reporters how to do this.
But so Kong escapes, runs amok, busting trains, and he finds someone that he thinks might be Anne, but isn't, so he just drops her to her death. And then reaches into a building and pulls Anne out and climbs the Empire State Building, which got that great wide shot of like the entire Empire State Building, and you see the skyline and just the little kind of silhouette of Kong climbing up the side.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, how will we ever get him up there? And Jack Driscoll's like, airplanes, see, that'll get him. So they send a bunch of airplanes after him. And the great climax of the movie happens, where King Kong fights the airplanes on top of a building and then gets shot.
He's able to take one down, but eventually they plug him with enough lead that he slowly loses
and
energy and falls off the building.
Like a thing that is, this scene is kind of the thing that like really puts this movie over the edge of being like a great movie, is that even though Kong is treated like a monster for most of the runtime of like, he's scary, sad. He's a big scary gorilla, like watch out, he'll get you. There is that like over the course of this whole scene, you go from being like, not me, I was like Kong, but like I feel like at the beginning of the scene it's like, yeah, the airplanes are gonna get him, to being like, oh no, this is so sad.
Yeah.
And that's just through like Kong's body language, as he's like getting weaker and he's bleeding out and he's like kind of starting to realize that he's dying. Like you can see like a moment of realization where like he understands that he's about to die.
And he puts Anne down because he doesn't want to kill her along with him. Yeah.
It's like there's such a sense of, and the music matches that. Like it's definitely intentional. This is supposed to be like a very tragic scene when he eventually falls.
Because, you know, he's just an animal. He didn't do anything wrong. Except kill lots of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, definitely I felt, especially when Kong was getting loose and like killing people in New York City and also killing all of the adventurers, I had the same feeling when the dinosaur got loose in The Lost World, where I'm just like, hell yeah.
Yeah, same. Absolutely, yeah. Anytime Kong is rampaging in this, it's great. But yeah, after he dies, we get the classic last line. It wasn't the airplanes, it was beauty killed the beast.
Yeah, and then the movie like wraps up real quick.
Yeah, that's
like,
the last shot of the movie, and then it's like, done. We're done.
It ends very abruptly, but it's a good picture. It's a good picture. It is.
I think like the writing in it is like worse than I remembered, with all of the sort of like women are dumb.
Yeah. The dialogue writing is not fantastic, but I think that like just the whole adventure aspect and the effects and like the scale, it all works so well.
It's a great example of like both spectacle and like emotion accomplished through effects. Like there's all of just the fun of seeing dinosaurs eating people, or just like how big Kong is and things like that. But there's like all of the emotional stuff of Kong dying or interacting with Anne are like, also that's like full credit to Willis O'Brien for being able to do that as well as he does in this. I think I found out about this movie regarding the effects is that they, like, while promoting it, they released like fake explanations for how the effects were done. I guess to like keep it a secret, they were like, we can't tell anyone how we did this. And so there's like full diagrams and things of like forced perspective sets that they didn't build, and like people in ape costumes and things that they never did. They did that for Invisible Man also. They also like lied about how the effects were done.
Proprietary effects.
I guess like that's the only reason I can think of why they would just straight up lie about it. But I think that's actually really fun. Like I kind of want a movie to do that now. I'd be like, oh, do this, shoot this in the volume, where like you did this with mocap. It's like, no, it just make up an explanation. I think that would be great. I don't know. Any other big thoughts on Kong?
I think I've said everything that I've thought of. You're the big Kong guy.
I am a big Kong guy. It is. I mean, I think I showed this on the show before, right? I bought like a King Kong souvenir magazine. Yeah. The Life magazine King Kong edition.
For the podcast listeners, he is holding up the Life magazine King Kong edition. And
it's got some cool like behind the scenes pics in here. Maybe I'll try to find JPEGs of those and throw them up in the video. This movie was shot simultaneously or like around the same time as The Most Dangerous Game, which was released in 1932, which we didn't watch, but I have seen. Have you seen that movie?
No.
You know about The Most Dangerous Game, though, right?
Humans.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I know.
Crazy guy hunts people on his island, but it's like it's the same island basically. Like it's all the like a lot of the jungle sets and stuff. There's like clearly the same sets. Also, Fay Ray is in both movies, and yeah, this movie has a long kind of cultural tale, I guess. They immediately, because this movie was so immediately successful, they made a sequel and released it in the same year called Son of Kong, which I have seen and is very bad. Because it's about Carl Denham is so ashamed that he has killed Kong. Carl Denham gets a real sort of like redemption arc in the sequel, which is kind of fun. That's like the best thing about it. Otherwise, it's a very obvious cash grab. But so Carl Denham like goes back to Skull Island and finds Kong's smaller son, who's like a cuddlier version of King Kong. And there's like more kind of like cheaper dinosaur stuff happens. And then Skull Island, there's an earthquake and Skull Island sinks into the ocean at the end of that movie. But it's not good. Don't watch it unless you're a King Kong freak like me.
I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. This was remade in the 70s with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange, and I do not like that movie. I think it sucks and is bad. Have you seen the 70s King Kong?
I haven't seen that.
Okay. Also, not a fan. I do really like the Peter Jackson remake, though. Even though it's. I think the last time I watched that movie, I said it feels like every scene in this movie feels like a deleted scene. In that it's like, this is a crazy scene. I understand why they cut this out, but it's really something to see.
Well, you were watching were you watching the extended version?
I was watching, I don't remember which, I think I was watching the theatrical cut the last time I saw it, but I don't remember. But there's like King Kong versus Godzilla in the 70s, where like King Kong is a entirely different character almost, who's just a different big gorilla who lives on an island. And then there's the recent King Kong movies, Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong, which are very wacky, kind of dumb movies, but I like a lot.
I like the MonsterVerse.
Kong Skull Island is, I think, the only King Kong movie that treats the like indigenous islanders with any respect whatsoever, and the only one that isn't like super fear-mongery around them. Like in all the other ones, they're like scary, like subhuman, almost just like, you know, othered, just like xenophobic people. And in the Skull Island movie, they're just like, yeah, they're just like an indigenous village. They don't like do sacrifices. They also live on the island. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's what actual like human cultures are like. So I guess shout out to that movie
probably 2005 King Kong was getting toward the end of when that was broadly culturally accepted.
Rewatching that movie, it's like, yikes, dude. Like, I think it almost tries to overcorrect by being like, they're so far from like a real human culture that they're just monsters.
I don't remember.
But it doesn't play great, I don't think. But so even today, there are still being movies being made about King Kong because he's just that great.
The ape lives on almost 100 years later.
And then, I mean, Marion C. Cooper later made Mighty Joe Young, which is another big ape movie. We got Dwayne Johnson in Rampage making his own big ape movie. Like, big apes became like a whole subgenre after this.
Right. Yeah, true. I mean, I guess, yeah, you're talking about Rampage, which was based on a video game, which probably was just directly inspired by King Kong.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, King Kong. Crazy movie. Crazy, like, even by, like, any standard, like, this is a pretty crazy movie, just in terms of, like, what happens in it. Mm-hmm. But I think it is really, there's, like, the thematic ideas of it, I think, are really strong and really hold up, of like civilization and like the wilderness and kind of, nature versus man.
Mess with nature. Yeah.
Like King Kong cannot live in New York City. It wouldn't work, you see.
The moral of the story is King Kong can't live in New York City.
King Kong. What a picture.
What a picture indeed.